Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. Don't adjust your screen settings just yet. Yes, this is in fact a tank RP match in the OTOMATIC, and it has been a little while since I played normally tank RP, and this will be a just demonstration of how strong, how good the OTOMATIC is in the anti-tank warfare, and I think I was pretty lucky here. And the first half of this match is a pure power demonstration of the OTOMATIC. Then the second half will partially show some of the problems that actually led me to the title of the video, why I avoided tank RP during the event. So this is a bit of an aftermath discussion because a lot of the factors have been taken over after the event into tank RP, so I noticed this. I was really avoiding tank RP during the event. The only exceptions were obviously when I was trying to get footage for the Merkava tank review and the VFW tank review. Aside from this, I don't really think that I played a match in tank RP, maybe one or two. And in the matches I noticed something, and I also heard this from horror stories from other people in Discords, in TeamSpeak discussions, etc. And I also read it quite a few times then in my comment section. So what I really tried to avoid when avoiding tank RP was not tanks, it was just the experience. In particular, especially at top tier. So I want to just go through the reasons one by one, at least the ones that I just have written down here, and just also talk you through why the event design was to a large degree responsible for it, and then also talk you through the alternatives and why the alternatives were just simply better and more rewarding and more fun, at least for me. Obviously, that is then partially down to opinion. So again, what I saw was the hair-raising lack of teamwork, the absolute lowest level of gameplay and selfishness, and just abusing outright the CAS mechanic. And that was just rushing the cap and not caring if the rest of your team can cap as well, you know, for the spawn points, and then just hopping out of the tank, and then just going into a jet, a prop, a helicopter, you name it, or right from the beginning in the American AH-1G. And if you were not in an SVA, those were some very interesting first minutes for you. If those guys were successful or not, and if they were killed, then they were just out of the match. So the entire gameplay experience was just absolutely bad. Now, CAS was very interesting for people because it just gave for the, let's say, the very same action, let's say getting a kill in a plane or a helicopter, more score points, which brought you closer to securing first place than in a tank. This is something that I think is a problem for the majority of times of tank RP, but hey, it's Gaijin that we're talking about here. And then in conjunction with winning not being a condition, despite winning being still a team effort, very often your team tries actively to deny you that, it seems like. Well, it was just promoting the most selfish playstyles. It was just promoting bad behavior, and people have taken this over. This is still very much feelable in the current event. So what could have Gaijin done better? Well, making winning an additional beneficial thing so that you have even more drops, let's say a third loot crate that rewards for the third team. Trust me, if you would have gone for multiple I-180s, you could have used them as well. Then, in conjunction with the usual issues like the very bad map rotation, the lack of balance, the stock grind, the high tier gun breach, APFSDS Call of Duty ping issue matter, I was just very, very right to say nope, nope, nope. And by the way, that's a casual double ace here. And then on top of this, respawning was actively punished because a lot of people were, if they were not going into a plane, you were spawn camped, like by planes or by tanks alike. And also if you were going in a plane but you were not the first to do so, the enemy plane was going for your plane spawn. and just hovering above it, and then you were just vultured with cannon fire or with air-to-air missiles alike. So the environment was made deliberately toxic by the community as a result of the conditions of the event set up by Gaijin. And that just shows the lack of knowledge about how their own game is played. Or it was deliberately made so that it is extremely frustrating, so that you're forced to use the marketplace. And I made a video about that as well. So, that is now part 1. And getting first place in a tank by itself was also pretty difficult. So for what I want to see, getting a good game and just surviving and showing the Survivor Award and getting as many kills as possible, that just was not possible. Well, it might have been possible, but the environment was toxic. And on top of this, you saw this giving up mentality. After 10 minutes, people were just leaving the battle to get the loot crates for 10 minutes of battle time. And on top of this, even if not for that, they just left the battle after it became clear that they can't reach first place, and they have spent already the 10 minutes. So it was really awful. It was really awful to watch. Now let's talk about the alternatives. Why other game modes were just simply better for fulfilling the event conditions. For me personally, RRB is much more relaxed, and you have just better planning capabilities in securing first place at multiple stages, and there was not just one way to get first place. And if you probably would have gone for it, I think a lot of the tryhards were really actively going for tank RB, so you could avoid the tryhards with their really bad gameplay. Now, in my experience, Air RB provided you with still the chance of playing the game more or less normally. For example, winning with your team the dogfight and then just hunting the last enemy down. And there was still a lot of stuff for you to do. So after killing 3 or 4 players, you were very high in the ranking by default. And then if you were just out of reach of the last few enemy players because the rest of your team were in a better position to hunt them down, then you could just farm some ground targets. And I think there is hardly any map where this is not the case, that there are ground units that you can farm with machine gun fire. Probably Operation Husky from the Axis side is one of the most stupid maps, but it's in general a stupid map. Mostly there was much less frustration, and you just could plan your first place much better while avoiding the tryhards and the very bad gameplay experience in tank RB. I personally then favored ship RB because I was balanced with seal clubbing in a balanced Soviet premium river patrol boat. And yeah, there were rather quick games. I had a lot of fun. At least I had fun. Not so sure about the enemy team. But I also could pad my stats. I was farming silver lines. I was farming first places. The time was not very often exceeding 15 minutes, just in rather rare cases. And still, with this huge amount of farming when I was actually playing War Thunder, aside from going fishing, I still could only achieve 3 planes, and only the 3rd plane I then had to use the marketplace for. So for me, tank RB in conjunction with the event conditions was just either explicitly designed to frustrate you, or designed just without knowledge about how the game is played. And I don't know which one of those 2 possibilities is actually worse. I, for myself, did not get burnt out myself by playing tank RB, because I just simply didn't play it. And I think as much as you can rant here now about all the stuff, at the end you have to appreciate the fact that there were other possibilities made available during the event to fulfill the event conditions by playing also by default in the game mode that you preferred. And I think this was then the good sides about the event. By default, the event was not purely bad, okay? But the real gameplay experience execution was just bad. That's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if it is, subscribe if you want to see more, and in the future we will see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.